Pedro Pascal has skyrocketed into the spotlight over the past few years, whether you know him from The Mandalorian, The Last of Us, or Narcos, or maybe you're an OG fan from way back in the day when he was on Game of Thrones. He's recently gone viral during the press tour of his latest film, Fantastic Four: The First Steps, with co-star Vanessa Kirby. They've been seen holding hands and caressing one another, which has sparked some rumors because Vanessa Kirby is, in fact, married. But nonetheless, Pedro has come out and spoken about his anxiety in the past. And even during this latest press tour, this has come up again, with many people speculating, is this actually anxiety or something else? Today, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into Pedro's background, as well as interviews from the past few years where he's spoken about his anxiety, as well as footage from his recent press tour for Fantastic Four. But before we begin, I do want to give a trigger warning and viewer disclaimer. I am going to be touching upon some sensitive mental health topics, such as trauma and suicide. So please take care of yourself during this video. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please take a look at the description box down below, and I include some crisis hotlines. But that being said, let's get into it. So let's start out with some background on Pedro. This is from an article from Vanity Fair from the July-August 2025 edition. And this article is written by Karen Valby. And Karen writes, Pascal tells me about his give-up years when he was a struggling actor in New York, decimated by the sudden death of his beloved mother, Veronica. At night, he'd return from whatever restaurant or bar job he hadn't yet been fired from to the apartment in Brooklyn he couldn't afford. However depressing his life, his pit bull mix rescue Greta would meet him excitedly at the door. Greta's silhouette was intimidating enough that Pascal could walk her at 3 a.m. to deposit his crumpled wad of tips into a Chase ATM without fear. She saved my life, that dog, because she gave me someone to go home to, Pascal says, searching through the Greta album on his phone to show me pictures. And so here you see Greta. So we can see how important Greta was to him and how much she meant in his life. Oftentimes people with anxiety or depression do tend to isolate and can live more solitary lifestyles, and their pets are their main support. Their pets are really their best friends. So here in this statement where he talks about, she saved my life, I do believe that. Oftentimes someone who's having a hard time doesn't want to share that with friends or family. They feel like they're a burden. They don't want to worry or upset anybody. So really the only person they have to talk to is their animal. Continuing on, Karen writes, when I first met Pascal, it's in the lobby of his swanky hotel. I go in for a handshake and he wraps me in a hug instead. On our way outside, we pass a bar and he offers to make me a cocktail, then whisks me out the front door into a waiting black BMW. Baby, I'm taking you on a date, he says. Pascal is happiest and most comfortable when the people around him are happy and comfortable, and because he is naturally so curious and warm, there's a sense of immediate safety with him. You're grateful to be in his light. So what stood out to me the most as I was reading this was Karen describing Pedro as the happiest and most comfortable when the people around him are happy and comfortable. That is usually an indicator of the trauma response of fawning or people pleasing. This is where we develop our sense of safety based on how other people are feeling. And again, that is a trauma response that's usually developed during childhood or even during adulthood, during traumatic experiences, where we avoid confrontation, We're scared to have an uncomfortable conversation or be assertive, advocate for ourselves because we want to be liked, we want to be accepted. Continuing on, Karen writes, as we're getting in the car, Pascal mentions his mother. He was 24 when she died by suicide. My own mother died by suicide when I was 18, a fact I wasn't sure would be comfortable or appropriate to share. But then Pascal mentioned that his mother got her PhD at San Antonio's Trinity University, where I was a college freshman when my mother died. The coincidence is so uncanny that I find myself spilling. Pascal immediately takes my hand. Whether we like it or not, we're bonded, he says. He was 9 months old when his parents fled to Chile to escape General Augusto Pinochet's dictatorship and eventually settled in San Antonio. Pascal's mother was a 22-year-old political refugee with 2 children studying child psychology. So yeah, I became kind of a guinea pig, says Pascal. Losing a parent is devastating at any age, but losing a parent during young adulthood, still trying to find ourselves. We're dating, we're in college, we may have our first job, learning how to adult. We look to our parents as our primary advisors in life, and to lose someone so important to him at this time, that can leave someone feeling very lonely, confused, and questioning their place in the world. He does briefly speak about bullying here. In middle school, Pascal's family relocated to a wealthy and conservative Orange County, California enclave where all the palm trees are the same height. He still can't stomach going back to visit. Middle school was a horror. He was bullied for being a weird, sensitive kid, for being an attention-hungry kid, for being in love with the movies and theater and art. So here he's talking about even during his preteen years, being bullied, being made fun of, and ridiculed, which we know can have a long-standing impact on our core beliefs, our self-view, and self-esteem. I was having a really hard time when I was 18, 19, 20, Pascal tells me. I was struggling really badly with insomnia. I was reading James Baldwin and watching movies like Once Were Warriors and Muriel's Wedding. I just was like an open wound to the reality of life. He pauses to smack the table with his hand, groaning and laughing at himself. It sounds so effing pretentious, but I felt at this crossroads of coming into an understanding of what an unjust world we live in. This world and its lack of equanimity is just too painful to bear. How do you live in it? Here, what stands out to me is he's mentioning having really bad insomnia, and this is prior to his mom's death. And when we're struggling with insomnia, irregular sleeping patterns, that does have a negative effect on our mood the following day. Pascal was 24 and living in Los Angeles when he got the phone call about his own mom. He took the first flight to Santiago. His parents had returned in 1995 with his younger brother Nicholas and Lux. After the services for his mother, Pascal returned to a hollowed man to pilot season, stupefied that he'd once considered landing a role in a new Dark Angel series of any consequence. You think not getting a job can break me? You can't break me, I'm already broken. On New Year's Eve, Pascal wrote down his wish for 2025, heal for real. Now we're going to take a look at his 2023 Drama Actors Roundtable with The Hollywood Reporter. And this first clip, the journalist is asking about how the actors are able to transition from playing a dark or villainous character to back to their normal life.
When, at the end of the day, can you go have your soup and be you, or are you, and how does that sort of weigh on you?
Something that I've actually found strange to discover later in life, the fact that it does weigh on you in the way that it can, because I have always felt like force myself to not be romantic about the process. And that doesn't mean to not take it totally seriously, but like, I gotta leave it at home. It's like, bad guys are fun, you know? And I love exploring that kind of stuff. But I've realized the older that I get that it doesn't matter really what you do, it's stuff is going to come home with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's not you, like you're physically going through something, so your
Totally.
body has some sort of sense memory. There's something going on.
What does that
it was
look
a strange.
like? Yeah.
Nothing. I just felt like I was really naive about it in the past, or that it was a decision. It was a choice. Like I refused to sort of indulge that these boundaries get blurred, and there isn't really a way to keep that from happening. I've discovered.
So here he's not mentioning anything about having a decompression routine or things that he does specifically to detach from his challenging roles. So here I would encourage him to come up with some type of decompression routine or ritual where he's able to transmute that heavy energy, wash off that heavy energy in some way. That way he's able to continue on and move through the remainder of his day in more of a lighthearted manner. In this next clip, the journalist asks about new opportunities that have opened up for Pedro and if he feels pressure to say yes.
And these are dark places. I'm curious what doors these current projects have opened for you. I'm looking at you because it feels like this is such a moment. Because it feels like this is been such a sort of, you've been at this for a very long time, and yet there's this sense of you are, all of a sudden there's so many opportunities, there's so much excitement around your career. I don't know if that comes with a sort of pressure to strike while the iron is hot, and how you sort of think about that navigation.
So here we can see he's visibly nervous. He's also trying to protect himself in a way by crossing his arms.
My body temperature just went up. You see that fogging?
They're fogging. But don't you think, wouldn't you say that there's a lot of risk in doing something that's maybe so beloved and people?
His glasses are fogging. He's saying his body temperature is going up. Those are indicators and body warning signs of anxiety.
People are really expecting, like, there's a huge fan base.
Yeah,
Last of Us, the video game.
Totally
like,
scary.
That's risky.
I was really, really scared. I think before, and it's the funny thing of compartmentalizing your feelings about stuff and kind of dealing with the amount of pressure that you put on yourself, the amount of pressure that is actually out there. I have this sort of psychological game where I'm like, it's no big deal.
Wow. Right.
Nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean?
I do that too.
And this time around,
it is interesting to me that he is feeling anxious even in such a relaxed environment that seems pretty casual, just a few actors sitting around. It's a quiet environment, and yet he's feeling anxious answering these pretty straightforward questions. So here he's talking about detaching from the outcome. So this is definitely a self-regulation technique where he's trying to put pressure off of himself or not feel so pressured in regards to performance anxiety.
I was scared. I was so scared. Yeah. You don't want to let people down, but you also kind of, nobody's impervious to disappointing people. You know what I mean? Like I want people to like me.
Okay, so remember the part about people pleasing? Here we go. So not only is that confirmed in the Vanity Fair article, but here he himself confirms it. So in this next clip, Kieran Culkin asks him about how he feels about his character in The Mandalorian, knowing that I guess in the latest season, he's mainly just the voice and there is an actor actually playing the character. and he mentioned something about OCD.
Feel that the like I have a question. Sorry,
So
I'm curious.
first he
Do you ever,
reaches for Kieran,
like,
and then
watch it
take
go
a
like,
look
"Oh, I wouldn't
at
have done that."
his
Like,
hands.
what do you do?
So
You, like,
this is a grounding technique.
leaned on the thing.
So there's a gentle squeeze there, putting some pressure. That is a method to release anxiety. One technique is called squeezing lemons, which you could do that individually when you clench your fists and pump, but you can also clasp your hands together and squeeze.
Suit, are you like, no, this is good?
I think it's great.
Great. I'm not
No,
trying to
I
be a
do.
dick.
I
know I'm
do. I
annoying.
think that there are things that you have to let go of in terms of what can be an OCD level of attention to detail, because you know,
because we're making we're part of a collage, man. We have nothing to do. You know,
exactly. But even so much as wanting your component of that collage to fit perfectly into the collage, and you really you really have to kind of give it.
So here he's talking about having an OCD, attention to detail. OCD is an anxiety-based disorder. I know he's not saying he has OCD here, but it's interesting that he does bring that up in terms of his work.
At the end of the day is what your relationship is to yourself. And you know what? And that's not small. To go into that conversation with yourself so that you can fulfill something and for it to be on camera or in front of an audience it is a psychologically crazy thing to do. To kind of be like, sometimes you just fucking hate yourself.
Oh yeah.
You know, and like all the time.
So here he mentions jokingly sometimes really hating yourself, lots of self-criticism, self-judgment.
If you're me, yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I remember there are so many instances where I'm sort of like...
Here he's putting his hands over his chest. This is to soothe our parasympathetic nervous system. So this is a grounding technique.
In that moment, it can't be good for you. And it's not a matter of like the fact that I'm living, you know, the apocalypse for 12 months, or you're playing somebody who's terrifying and or like incredibly toxic. Never annoying. Never annoying.
In this next clip, we're going to see what Pedro does to try to ground himself and how he's using Kieran to do that.
Too late.
Toxic family dynamic. But yeah, no kidding. It's that it can feel like it can feel like a crazy thing. Therefore, I feel like the one thing that we deserve is to actually let go.
So here we see Pedro actually grabbing onto Kieran's arm and pressing his forehead into Kieran's arm to manage his anxiety in this moment. This does technically debunk all those memes about Pedro only having anxiety with women around. In this last clip, we're going to take a look at yet another self-regulation technique that Pedro is using, which helps reset our vagus nerve, which is gently pulling or squeezing or rubbing on the earlobe.
This is the secret.
Now we're going to take a look at his Men's Health interview from July of 2025. Pedro Pascal's key to managing anxiety, talking with friends and loved ones. The star of the Fantastic Four First Steps in Eddington told us how he takes control when things get tough and how it's changed over the years. Pedro says, I notice, especially during this period of the summer 2020 and the kind of isolation and how long my FaceTimes were and my phone conversations, that I had started to make an effort to engage more, having previously lost that option in many ways, he explained. I can think back on high school and college, and I was always such a talker with friends, conversations on the phone, And then I don't know how many days had gone by where we'd stopped doing that. So we all know 2020 was a rough year globally, and there was definitely an increase in social anxiety due to everyone having to isolate. Here, he's just talking about having awareness in regards to the shift of how he was engaging with people. Pascal continued explaining that for all the pain and trouble that the pandemic brought, the circumstances did provide him with the silver lining of remembering the kind of connection that always helped him. It's something I've held on to very much. I was always one to reach out when I'm facing something that is challenging or making me anxious, he said. I definitely kind of stopped doing that, and instead I'm doom scrolling or looking for something to watch, looking for different ways to dissociate from the feeling I'm having. And then when it started to feel so critical, I had to go back to what was always the comfort for me in life, which was engagement in my relationships, my friendships, and conversation and shared experience. This is really great that he's mentioning reaching out to his social support, talking to loved ones or people that he trusts. It is important to reach out to our support system, especially when we're struggling. That's what they're there for. He is mentioning that during the pandemic, he did briefly stop doing that. Understandably so. During that time, I mean, it's a global crisis. So people genuinely are scared and they're fearful. And given the fact that we weren't allowed to socialize in person, again, that is even reiterating that sense of isolation or feeling alone. And so why would you reach out? You know, if you know that everybody else is also struggling and worried, once again, not wanting to be burdensome to somebody else. Now, let's take a look at a clip from a 2023 Variety podcast interview, and we're going to take a look at his body language and how he is grounding himself here.
The assignment, and continue fulfilling the assignment because that is
Here we're taking a look at, once again, he has his arms crossed, but you see that his hands are in fists, so they're a little bit tense, they're not relaxed, and it looks like he's actually pushing into, or you're squeezing his arms together and almost pushing his fists into his arm, or almost armpit there. Here with this deep pressure stimulation, this is similar to a self-hug, which does release oxytocin, which is known as the love hormone, which makes us feel nurtured and safe.
The best part, it's not about necessarily getting an A, but it's definitely an anchoring thing in terms of...
So we see here he's really holding on tight, and he's even raising his shoulders and scrunching his neck. Again, these are also signs of anxiety.
Understanding someone's vision, especially if it's somebody that whose influence you've been under for so long, and also fulfilling the role of like scene partner for somebody who is super impressive, and if it comes with actually inspiring somebody else, that's the component that I'm kind of like unwilling to recognize, because it can make my...
I see the body language. I feel like you can't even...
It could just kind of make my heart explode a little bit, because
Here he was putting his hand over his chest or over his heart. Once again, that's another grounding technique. This next clip is from a 2016 interview with The Wrap, and we're focusing on his hand grounding technique here, his hand squeezing strategy. There is a Japanese hand exercise called Jinshin Jutsu, where you squeeze different fingers or you put pressure on the palm of your hand, and it's believed to regulate your nervous system.
And I think that that's what is most.
So here he's taking his right thumb and rubbing up and down between the index finger and the thumb of his left hand.
Interesting to kind of see what he's capable of and what that means as far as his moral compass is.
And lastly, this is from a premiere for The Last of Us. This is Pedro with his co-star Bella Ramsey, and he's heard on a mic explaining why he's placing his hand on his stomach. He takes a deep breath, and he's saying, my anxiety is right here. And I will say what he's describing is very common. When we feel anxious, we can tend to have stomach aches. And why that is because our vagus nerve, which is part of our parasympathetic nervous system, it's the longest cranial nerves in our body. It goes from our brain all the way down to our stomachs. And the vagus nerve is activated when we're dysregulated, when we're stressed, or when we're having some type of trauma response, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so here he's spot on in describing, this is very common, of where he holds his anxiety. In conclusion, I have to admit, at first, when I was looking at the Fantastic Four press tour and how he was interacting with Vanessa Kirby, I was giving Pedro a side eye, but after looking more into his background, reading a few different articles, watching his interviews, he does very often self-regulate to manage his anxiety, and he uses a lot of self-soothing techniques, like the hand squeezing, hand rubbing, crossing his arms, putting deep pressure on himself. Again, these are all known self-regulation strategies. And his interactions with Vanessa are mutual. They do seem as though they have some type of agreement, or clearly have had some type of discussion between themselves in terms of what they could do to try to help each other manage their anxiety when they're giving these interviews. I'm not here to diagnose anyone. I can't say whether or not he clinically meets criteria for anxiety, but I will absolutely say he does present with several anxious symptoms. I hope you found this video helpful and it was able to give you some context as to how anxiety presents and what type of things people can do to help manage those symptoms. If you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about Pedro's anxiety and the techniques that he's using to mitigate his symptoms? Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.